Good afternoon. I'm County Executive Ken Jenkins. Today is February 18, 2025. And we want to just start today's briefing with a big thank you. I want to take a moment to thank you from the bottom of my heart for your overwhelming support in the special election that we had on February 11th. Your voices, your votes, and your belief in our shared vision for Westchester made all the difference. I am honored and humbled by the trust you've placed in me to lead our county. For me, it's significant that this election and victory came during Black History Month. This is a time to honor the rich history, culture, and contributions of Black Americans who have shaped our nation. It's a moment to reflect on the resilience, achievements, and sacrifices of those who fought for justice and equality, and to recognize the work that remains ahead. As Westchester County's first Black County Executive, this month also holds profound significance. It's a time to celebrate those leaders, the trailblazers, and everyday's heroes, both past and present, who paved the way for the progress in every facet of our society. Their legacies remind me and remind all of us that Black history is American history, woven into the very fabric of our county and our country. Throughout history, Black Americans have led movements for change, from the fight for civil rights to the ongoing pursuit of equality and equity in education, business, healthcare, and beyond. Here in Westchester, we can continue to build upon that legacy. We see it in the educators who inspire the next generations, the entrepreneurs breaking barriers, and the advocates working tirelessly to create a more inclusive society. Your support in this election shows the power of our community when we all come together to make our voices heard. Together, we will continue to work toward a future that truly embodies the values of justice, unity, and progress, not just during Black History Month, but every single day. Thank you again for your trust in your votes and your belief in what we can do together. We had some information that came through, and certainly we want to continue to remind people that we have an Immigrant Protection Act here in Westchester County, but there was also some false claims that were made along the way. Westchester County is not a sanctuary county. Any claims suggesting otherwise are false and politically motivated. Westchester County works with federal law enforcement, including ICE, and provides that judicial warrant that the Immigration Customs Enforcement Group is required to do to be able to navigate through our various departments and working with our law enforcement partners. When this document is filed, the county notifies ICE before releasing an individual from custody and may hold an individual for up to 48 hours beyond their release date to work through and let the federal law enforcement folks do their job. It's not something that is new. It's been something that we've had in place in this county since 2018. That was under Trump 1, under President Biden, and now it remains the same. So these are not new things that are happening here in Westchester County, and our federal law enforcement partners have been able to navigate and work with us through that process, and they haven't had any issues that we're aware of to be able to move forward with. But once again, our Immigrant Protection Act was a law that was enacted to ensure that people that were participating, that are immigrants in our communities, and many times coming from places where the police were not always their friends, to be able to have people be protected and public safety be of an utmost importance for everyone. So crimes against those immigrant communities could be reported. When things were happening in housing, those could be reported to the law enforcement folks for appropriate follow-up to be done. And again, our particular law in Westchester County, people should recall that I believe that there was a co-sponsor, a Republican co-sponsor, Jim Mazzano, who was a Republican co-sponsor of the legislation, which was adopted, I believe, unanimously in Westchester County back in 2019. Again, we continue to work with our law enforcement partners to make sure that people in Westchester are safe and secure. As far as crime is concerned, everyone knows that my father was a New York City police officer and my mother was a nurse. We've long affirmed our commitment to public safety, and our commitment for fighting crime in Westchester County is stronger than ever. We've invested in our Westchester County Department of Public Safety under the leadership of Commissioner Terrence Rayner, and we've invested at those record levels because we are dedicated to keep this county safe for all of us. The decline in crime is a testament to the strong partnerships between law enforcement, community leaders, and residents. By working together, Westchester County has created safer neighborhoods and a stronger sense of security among its residents. And again, it's the partnership between every level of government that makes that difference, and Westchester County is committed to continuing that we've been doing so well in partnership with our law enforcement partners around the county, and whether it's the state or the federal levels or our municipal partners, to make sure that Westchester communities stay safe. As your county executive, I'm committed to ensuring that Westchester remains a place where families can thrive by keeping taxes low for the last 6 budgets and working with all stakeholders, including 4 years that we had reductions in our county property taxes. We've been maximizing every dollar to support vital services, foster economic growth, and protect our middle class. Westchester is one of the few communities and one of the few counties that shares sales tax revenue with local municipalities to keep taxes low. This isn't just about balancing budgets. It's about security and investing in the future of our communities to ensure that government works for everyone. And as I like to say, is that behind every decision that we make is a human being. It's not a line on a spreadsheet. It's not a line in the budget. It's a real person, and that's what makes Westchester so great. So I've been in office as your county executive since January 6th, but I like to think that I'm carrying out the legacy of so many trailblazers before me, and I like to think I'm continuing a legacy of service with all of our great partners that have been county executives here in Westchester County. One of my first acts as county executive was signing the Land Acquisition Act that was allocating $10 million for the purchase of property downtown White Plains to support the development of 108 affordable home ownership opportunities as well as parking spaces. This underscores our administration's commitment to fair and affordable housing throughout Westchester, but it also shows a different step as we talk about the 66 units of affordable housing that's been developed over the past 7 years, as well as talking about affordable home ownership, which has been something that we've been continually trying to do with our municipal partners, and here in the city of White Plains, we were able to make that happen. That underscores our strong economic position in Westchester County, being the only county under S&P Global Finance ratings to achieve a AAA bond rating. That partnered with the Fitch ratings, which was reaffirmed, so 2 years in a row as a AAA rated county from Fitch, and S&P Global having the only county in New York State to have that AAA bond rating. And with Moody's Financial, we're right at the doorstep with them with a AA1 and a positive outlook. What that means is the $385 million worth of capital projects that we have proposed in the budget and was adopted by the County Board of Legislators allows us to be in a position of financing those at the lowest possible cost to make sure that every dollar that's invested through your property taxes are able to be maximized for the benefit of Westchester residents. This accomplishment speaks to our careful budgeting, strategic planning, and resilient economy, again, making us that only county in New York State to achieve this distinction from S&P. I was honored to appoint a good friend, Richard Wishney, as our Deputy County Executive. His decades of public service and leadership, including his tenure as the Commissioner of Emergency Services, have already proven invaluable to our administration. Richard Wishney is a person that has so much that he has given to this county and to the people of Westchester, whether it's in his emergency services role for EMS, his volunteer EMS and volunteer firefighter activities, and just as an all-around good person. Richard Wishney, I was so honored and pleased to appoint him as our Deputy County Executive. We have also continued to take bold steps in so many different ways with with gun violence, and we announced our Westchester Gun Violence Prevention Task Force with our partners on the County Board of Legislators to unite experts, advocates, and community representatives to create safer communities through collaboration and actionable strategies. We took the time during the county budget to appropriate dollars for our 4 public housing authorities for critical property improvements. That investment of $7 million makes better living conditions for thousands of residents. And again, it shows the level of investment in protecting affordable housing for all of our county residents. I continue to have this conversation with our partners in our municipal governments by extending a policy that is not required under law. We renewed the Good Neighbor policy that ensures that local municipalities, and more importantly, the residents, have a meaningful voice in decisions that impact their neighborhoods, reinforcing the values of open government and partnership. And again, the Good Neighbor policy continues, and we renewed that because, again, it is so important for people to feel that their voice was heard. This was in addition to what's required under law, under SECRA and NEPA when you're dealing with federal projects. To continue to enhance that public safety, we introduced new legislation that's improving oversight and notifications. That's under the Battery Energy Storage System, otherwise BESS, ensuring that we protect both residents and first responders while advancing energy technology responsibly. That was a problem up and with our friends that were on the borderline of Putnam, a situation where battery storage was being implemented and they were not aware because they were across the line and heard information. This is a partnership that works so well with our Department of Emergency Services and our local first responders, whether they are fire, EMS, and police, to be able to identify and be able to map out those particular installations, whether they're in place already or they are planned for the future, to make sure, again, that we can respond in emergencies as quickly as possible. We then made history, again, by appointing the first woman to serve as commissioner of the Department of Emergency Services by appointing Susan Spear. She was breaking barriers, promoting diversity and leadership, but more importantly, the kind of quality that Commissioner Spear has been since she's been involved in the Department of Emergency Services as a deputy commissioner is shown that her leadership, her drive, her tenacity, and more importantly, her love for everyone in emergency services. She's going to continue to make that difference. Again, Susan Spear, the first woman to serve in the Commissioner of Department of Emergency Services, which celebrated its 25th year of existence. The Board of Legislators created the Department of Emergency Services, pulling together 4 different entities to be able to put under the umbrella of the Department of Emergency Services, where you have training and additional support, our dispatch services, lovingly known as 60 Control, and some other things to be able to move forward. But 25 years, and again, we were privileged to have that celebration recently, and Commissioner Spear was announced that evening in front of all of her other peers and with every commissioner that's ever served the department in its presence. So that was certainly a great opportunity, and thank you for all of those folks that have done tremendous work in our Department of Emergency Services. We went over to show the level of support that Westchester County has for all of the civil service employees of Westchester County, not just the ones that work for Westchester County, but for the local municipalities and school districts as well, by opening a new employee assistance program in White Plains. This program provides vital mental health and support services for county employees and their families, reinforcing our commitment to their well-being. And again, it's very difficult when you have the kind of services that we do across the board, not just in Westchester County, but in all the local municipalities. They have family challenges. Things happen to each and every one of us. And the Employee Assistance Program is another way that, in the privacy and in a location, to be able to get the resources that are necessary to help be able to do your life better, to be able to provide things of support for your friends and your family that is part of our county employees or in our civil service workforce, but more importantly, then to be able to turn around and help others, as every one of our public service employees do throughout Westchester County. We were fortunate to say that we were able to get some additional dollars in some proposed legislation for our veterans. We had a brand new program for veterans where we provide a free park pass that does not say that there's still not fees that park veterans pay when they go to a park, whether that's to be able to enter into a pool or golf facilities where there's fees for greens, etc. But you always used to need a county park pass. We signed into law legislation adopted by the Board of Legislators, which provided a free county park pass for veterans to continue to make sure that we're recognizing and supporting all of the services and sacrifices that they have made, and we're going to continue that work moving forward. We also were able to partner with our volunteer firefighters and EMS workers to allow them to take advantage of a 10% property tax exemption, which was in place, but it required you live in the community where you serve. And in many of our volunteer service agencies, they may be next door to where someone lives. They may live a couple of communities away, but they still are volunteers serving the communities as firefighters and EMS workers. And this allowed that 10% eligibility to apply to them as well, because it recognized their volunteer service. And many of our communities have volunteer EMS, volunteer ambulance corps, and they certainly do have some volunteer police. They usually call them auxiliary, or for us, we have our sheriffs that are in those volunteer positions. But again, this is specifically for state legislation that gave us the ability to opt into this program for volunteer EMS and volunteer ambulance corps. But again, it just shows how much we're working with our local municipal partners to recognize the great service and sacrifice that people put in. And in thinking of that, here's going to be an opportunity that happens just once every 4 years. We're going to hold our civil service exams for police officers for our Department of Public Safety. The exams for police officer and police officer Spanish speaking will take place on May 3rd and May 4th, and it has a filing deadline of February 24th. So that deadline is fast approaching, this is an opportunity to join the Westchester County Department of Public Safety. And again, we always like to say we're the premier police agency, but we're going to say in our partnerships with the local municipalities, the county police do such a fantastic job in making sure that they're patrolling on the parkways, partnering with local municipalities to provide detective services, doing the work of labs and research. So when there's a crime scene, our county police worked to do those kind of things, the forensic unit to be able to get all those crime scene and CSI type things that people like to see. But that's the work that the county police does in behalf of the local municipalities, which quite frankly don't usually have all those resources to be able to do them, but also shows again the power of the regional government that Westchester County is to help reduce those costs for the local property tax person in that local municipality by spreading the costs across the county and making sure we can provide outstanding service to everyone. One of the things that we had come up during the past month or so since I've been county executive was where one of our greatest treasures, Playland, the crown jewel of our Westchester County Park System, and as the Deputy County Executive has continued, the nationally accredited award-winning park system where we have over 18,000 acres of parks and over 50 facilities to be able to move forward. Playland, which was under the management of Standard Amusements under a agreement that was adopted in 2016 and then modified further in 2017, going into before 2018, before we came into the administration here, 2017, where there were agreements that were made, and with Standard Amusements suggesting that they are going to pull out of their agreement after 3 years, we're committed, and our entire team is committed to have Playland open for the 2025 season. Since 2018, we've worked tirelessly to preserve and enhance this historic park, and that commitment will not change. Westchester County has spent close to $150 million of your tax dollars investing in Playland. Everyone says that the investments look tremendous, and we're going to do our level best to make sure that Playland is open for the 2025 season, and we're going to make sure that we continue to operate it as a park, because Playland is a park. It is a state authorized park. It's not something that could change. So there were some rumors that other things could happen, but quite frankly, those were just rumors. Playland will be back under county management, and we're going to move forward to open Playland for the 2025 season, and that usually happens at Memorial Day weekend, and we're going to work as hard as we can, again, with the Parks Recreation Conservation team that's going to make sure that that moves forward. Finally, we had an opportunity to meet with our Attorney General, that we like to say is the best Attorney General in the universe, Letitia James, and members of our Westchester County Opioid Response and Overdose Prevention Initiative, that's initials just ORI, with Commissioner Michael Orth and the team that we have assembled there for those members of the Opioid Response and Overdose Prevention Initiative. Together, we discussed how opioid settlement funds are being allocated to local organizations on the front lines of addiction prevention and treatment. That fight is far from over, but continuing to make the investments, Westchester is leading the way in combating the opioid crisis and saving lives. When it talks about co-occurring disorders where things are connected, like someone had an accident and they had surgery potentially, and it is connected to a substance misuse many times. So again, we want to thank all those volunteer members of those organizations that participate in the task force, but more importantly, all of the people around Westchester County that are putting their initiatives, their work, and making sure that we can get people the assistance that they need. And whether we identify it through Project Alliance, which is another program that we're continuing, or through the ORI program, that's going to make a difference, and it's going to save lives, and that's why we're here to continue this work. And we thank Letitia James, our Attorney General, Tish James, for the work that her and her staff continues to do in partnership with us at Westchester County and all of those volunteers. These achievements reflect the collective hard work of our administration, the 4,200 plus employees of Westchester County, the partnerships we built across the county, and many, many organizations. And so on this day and in this month and on this year, let us recommit ourselves to service in every form, service to our families, to our neighbors, and to the ideals of justice and equality. And for me, service to you, the people of Westchester. As Westchester County's 10th county executive, I'm deeply committed to serving our community and upholding the principles of democracy, safety, education, technology, and engagement. Since taking office last month, and in all my years working in government prior, I've worked tirelessly to cut taxes, build affordable housing, protect women's rights, reduce crime, secure tax breaks for our veterans, restore aging infrastructure, and protect our environment. Moving forward, I will continue to focus on the needs of middle-class families, ensuring that every resident has the opportunity to thrive. My commitment to public service is strong and long, and I will remain a fierce advocate for our community, fighting for the resources and opportunities that our people deserve. Together, we will build a stronger, more inclusive Westchester for the future. Let us work to ensure that every child in Westchester County has the opportunity to succeed, every family feels secure, and that every individual knows the dignity of being treated with respect and fairness. With that, I'm County Executive Ken Jenkins. I'm so glad to present to you this afternoon. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon.